Essentially, I'm giving a talk today about automating for accessibility. Suffice to say, I'm a QA engineer at Bitly. I'm part of a 4-person team, and we're all awesome and work super hard. And what we're discussing today is accessibility, why it's important, modern tooling, how to integrate it into your existing tooling to do it automatically, parsing output, and we probably won't get to all of it, but we'll do as much as we can. So who knows what I'm talking about when I say accessibility testing? Does anybody do it currently in their day-to-day work? Yeah, not as many as I kind of would hope, but that's just par for course for the industry. These are some really impressive statistics around how many users just actually utilize accessibility features to get through the web today. And I have a lot more data on it that I could show you. Some really interesting things to point out. If you break it up by region, you'll see that certain regions have really high numbers of people with specific, this is DEHL, which is disabled hearing loss. So South Asia, 9.5% of males have some form of hearing disability. And this was a video I was going to play, but has anybody ever seen somebody use a screen reader to navigate the web before? If you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend going and looking up a YouTube video because these people are superhumans. The amount of information that's coming through their ears as they navigate through web pages is just insane. It's like, think of the fastest rap you've ever heard and then multiply it by 2. And that's about the speed of the information that comes through for people who use these kind of accessibility features. So really quickly, we're going to talk about a couple just browser level tools you can integrate with to help you do accessibility testing. This is a big one I like. It's a Google project. It's called Chrome Lens. So there are people who can't actually utilize mice in their day-to-day navigation of the internet. And so as testers, we have a responsibility to make sure that they are able to navigate to all of the critical elements of our functions. This is a site that I run in my free time, and you'll see we're actually not doing a good job because my expectation would be as the user tabs through, they actually hit each navigation item before they actually make it into this contact form. Down here, it's actually pretty good. And fixing these issues actually isn't too difficult. Lighthouse. Lighthouse comes bundled in Chrome nowadays. Does anybody know about this tool? It's pretty cool. You can use it to audit your pages. It'll give you information about your performance, accessibility. You can run it in either mobile or desktop, and it will simulate that environment for you. So that's a good tool too. And that's just right out of the box with their browser. Last one, Axe. Axe is a browser extension I'd highly recommend you look into. You can go on any web page and run an Axe report, and you'll get this really, really detailed output about what is going on your page that might not be up to standards of accessibility. And the whole reason we're talking about this is because Domino's got sued, and it went to the Supreme Court, and they lost. And so now everybody's freaking out about it, including the people at Bitly, which is how we got involved in this project. So we're super busy at Bitly, as I mentioned earlier, so we're like, how can we get good reporting on our current accessibility shortcomings without increasing the amount of work that our department has to do? And the solution we landed on was to integrate Axe Core, which is a library, into our current WebDriver IO implementation. So Bitly has a marketing site. This is a little bit about what we currently do, but essentially we have this WordPress site that we have pretty much more or less fully automated at this point. And so we integrated this Axe testing core library into it, and we were able to run it. I was going to run it. Here's a GIF of it happening. Normally, we could run this in parallel and do this super quickly, but demo's better if you kind of see it hitting every page. Here's our output report, and it's basically impossible to see. This being accessibility, that's pretty lame of me, but if I could blow it up, it might be a little bit more readable. Essentially, the Axe report classifies issues into 3 levels. There are critical, serious, and moderate level violations. Critical ones are probably the ones that put you most at risk for some kind of legal issues. And so our tool basically combs over every page that we have, gets the output of what we're not doing correctly, compiles it into this report, and then spits it out into JSON, which we can then feed to our developers. And the reason it's in JSON is because this information is super detailed. So here's an example. We have our market contact page, and this is the critical violations on our market contact page. The type of issue right here, we're ensuring that all of our image elements have alternate text or a role, so we're not doing it at this place. This is a help URL you can go to get information about why these kind of checks are important. And you can see here in the nodes, these are actually all of the places where this violation is happening at. So you can target this image ID, I think I'm reading this correctly. Anyway, we were able to give this to our front-end developers, and we're currently in the process of fixing some of these bugs. So that was pretty cool. And that's it.
So I have a question. Which one do you recommend, Google Lens or Lighthouse or Axe?
I like Axe because it gives you really, really in-depth information. Like, for instance, these help URLs. Sometimes I'll read these issues and I'll be like, I have no idea why it's super important to have this like level of contrast between elements. But Axe gives you all that information right in the tool. I find Lighthouse to be a little, it doesn't find as much as Axe does, certainly. So.
And how much time it took for you to integrate Axe to your UI testing package?
1 hour. Yeah, I actually have the code. I was going to show it. I didn't know if we wanted to go into it, but so there's all these, depending on what your UI automation framework is, there are a ton of libraries out there that already integrate with Axe Core. So here is the actual test code that we're running. If you're familiar with Mocha, it's real simple. You go to our market about page, you open it up, and then we wrote a custom command on the browser to basically just run an Axe report. And that code looks like this. So, and there's tons of examples of people doing this online. So don't take my word for it because I'm not the best programmer, admittedly. Yep.
Are there other accessibility tools that you find interesting, or just those three?
Well, my thoughts on accessibility testing is no matter how much testing we do, you should always try to go out into the industry and find somebody who actually uses accessibility tooling and does that as their profession and audits sites, because it's like, this is like the worst metaphor ever, but I talk about guys designing bras and thinking that they can do like an excellent job at it. Like, there's a certain amount of context that we lack that people in the industry who do this for a living and audit sites, like, they'll find things that we won't even possibly be able to find with this automated scanning. So I don't want to call them tools, but that would be my advice.